Good evening, everybody. It is 6:22. Sorry if we're 22 minutes later than normal. Our previous meeting ran a bit longer. Thank you for your patience out in the lobby. We have an absolutely full house here. Hopefully we haven't hit our occupancy limit, but we have the fire department all here, so I guess we'd be the first to know. So I'll call this meeting to order for Wednesday, April 30th. It is a hybrid meeting. As you can see, some of our councillors are attending the Ontario Small Urban Municipalities Conference in Collingwood, and instead of out socializing and having beverages tonight, they're working and participating remotely in our council meetings. So you'll need to check the screens out for anybody talking from Collingwood tonight. The joys of remote participation. So I'll start off with our land acknowledgement, and that's the town of Midland recognizes located on the land, which is traditional and treaty territory of the Anishinaabe people, now known as Chippewa Tri-Council, comprised of Bosalai First Nation, Rama First Nation, and Georgina Island First Nation. The territory is within Pre-Confederation Treaty 5 and Treaty 16 and included within the Williams Treaties of 1923. Town of Midland recognizes located on land, which is traditional territory of the Huron-Wendat and the historic homeland of the Métis, and that our town is home to a large and diverse community of Indigenous people. I'd now like to deliver the following safety message. Should the fire alarm activate, just to see any of the people here, please exit the room in an orderly fashion and proceed to the evacuation assembly area, which is located in the upper parking lot. You may exit through the main entrance double glass doors there, make an immediate left, proceed out the front doors, or through the secondary exit right back here. Proceed up the stairs, check the door for heat before opening, and if it's safe, exit onto the second floor, turn right and proceed out the door in front of you or follow any of us. Washrooms are located on the second floor and elevators located just outside the main entrance. As Midland has a respectful workplace policy, anyone exhibiting violent or harassing behavior will be asked to leave. Members of the audience are to maintain order and quiet, not to address council except with permission of the chair. All cell phones and pagers is a good reminder. Another electronic devices which emit a sound are to be turned off or set to non-audible. No person shall display signs or placards, applaud participants or debate, well, except you can applaud in a few minutes when we do our presentation, or to engage in conversation, electronic otherwise, or behave in a way which may disrupt the proceedings of council. For anyone requiring a hearing aid or hearing assisting device, please see our clerk and she'll arrange for our IT staff to provide you with that device. Council meetings are recorded via Zoom and are posted to the town's YouTube site. The meetings are also broadcast on Rogers TV Midland Channel 53, one meeting per month, and live streamed via Rogers TV Midland, which can be accessed through the Town of Midland website. Individual recording, broadcasting, or streaming the meetings by the public or any member is not permitted without express consent of the clerk and all those present. Of course, the exception will be for the photography this evening for our presentation, which will immediately follow this. So I'd just like to also ask for a silent moment of reflection before we get into the crux of our meeting tonight. Thank you very much. Again, it's a pleasure to have people in the audience. So often we stare blankly off into the empty gallery. So it is wonderful to have some spectators here and participants, including I'd like a shout out welcome to our newly reminted MP Adam Chambers, who just won his seat back this election. So congratulations and thank you for joining us this evening. All right, Chief, I will give you the podium.
Thank you, Your Worship. So good evening, Your Worship, members of council, CAO Bun, town directors, citizens in the gallery and online, our firefighters and distinguished guests. It is with pleasure that I stand before you this evening to recognize significant milestones in the career of two of our volunteer firefighters. The Governor General of Canada's Fire Service Exemplary Service Medal was created in August of 1985. It honors members of the Canadian Fire Service who have completed 20 years of service, 10 of which have been in the performance of duties involving potential risk. With me this evening to present these long service medals are, as you mentioned, Your Worship, Adam Chambers, MP for Simcoe North, as well as Garfield Dunlop, former MPP for Simcoe North. That's not us. That's not us. Former MPP for Simcoe North and proud father of Your Honorable Jill Dunlop, current MPP of Simcoe North and Minister of Emergency Preparedness and Response. So to our recipients. Our first recipient is firefighter Drew Hutchings. Drew started with the town of Midland in January of 2004. He went through a 6-month training program with 3 other firefighters, so 4 in total, and they began responding to calls in June of 2004. Drew's full-time employment was with Alcan, where he worked as a tool and die maker. He worked there for 35.5 years, retiring in 2022. Drew enjoys doing handyman work for friends and coworkers. He has a wife, Cheryl, 4 children, Dustin, Gavin, Devin, Julie. When Drew's not doing odd jobs and helping his friends, he's a volunteer firefighter with us, and he enjoys traveling up north and spending time at his property up north. Our second recipient is firefighter Bill Edwards. Bill started with the town of Midland as a volunteer firefighter again in 2004, same time, same group as Drew. He went through the 6-month training program with the 4 of them. There's 2 of them left, and started responding to calls in August or June of 2004. Bill was born and raised in Midland. He began working at TRW Automotive in August of 1987, where he continues to work today. The company's changed several times, but Bill has stayed put and he still works at the same location. Bill has 5 children and 7 grandchildren and still finds time to volunteer as a firefighter. When Bill's not working as a volunteer firefighter in Midland, he enjoys riding his motorcycle. Now I'd like to invite MP Adam Chambers up to say a few words.
Thank you, Your Worship. I know you're running tight on time, so I promise I won't be long, but I'm very pleased to be here this evening to honor Bill and Drew, who've given so much service to our wonderful town of Midland. As mentioned, I know that both Jane and Garfield Dunlop are here this evening on behalf of Jill. You know, we just went through a pretty difficult time with the power outage, and I think everyone saw the kind of work that our first responders and firefighters do for us. I know they were incredibly busy with a number of calls, but it's these individuals who, while all of us were trying to figure out how we were going to manage our own lives, they're out helping other people. And I want to not just commend them for their service, but thank them and thank their family members for being without them when, you know, they often are needed. The hours are different. You don't know when you're going to get that call. And, you know, my favorite part of the job, to be honest, is being in our communities and recognizing the accomplishments and the service that our wonderful citizens and residents have given to our community. So it's an absolute honor for me to be here with you this evening. And I want to congratulate both Bill and Drew on behalf of the Governor General for their long service, and wish them all the best as they continue and you know, find many things to fill their time with. But thank you for inviting me here this evening. Thank you, Your Worship.
Thank you, Adam, or MP Chambers. As you can see, both recipients are dedicated professionals that have committed a long time in serving our community. And it is with pleasure that I stand here surrounded by family, friends, co-workers to present the Federal Fire Service Exemplary Medal Awards to both firefighter Drew Hutchins and Bill Edwards. Please join me in a round of applause to congratulate. So, Your Worship, if you can join us at the front, I'll ask our MP and MPP to come, our firefighters to flank the sides, and I'll bring our 2 recipients. We'll bring them forward. There's so many people, right? We have to put them in one side. So I'll bring everybody to the front. Brittany will will organize us as she normally does for our pictures.
All righty. Oh, here we go. All righty, everybody. Welcome back. So that's probably one of the best. That's one of the best parts about this when we get to participate in award ceremonies like that. It's just so awesome. So anyway, again, congratulations for the 20-year long service federal medal is just very good, very aspirational. Righty. So we did have a closed session before we got started. So we have some motions that arise out of that. Oh, we're gonna jump. Oh, yeah. Don't we have to do the close? No, delegation? Sorry. Check my agenda. Oh, yes, the declarations of conflict of interest. Sorry. I thought you were saying delegation. I'm like, wait, I meant Delberg's coming after. Okay. Council, any declarations of conflict of interest relating to the remainder of tonight's agenda? Seeing none, if one should arise, just throw your hand up or interrupt and make it be known. So motions arising from our close meeting discussions. I have a motion here moved by Councillor Ball, seconded by Councillor Major. The council receive as information and confirm the directions as outlined in the confidential verbal report and update provided by the Chief Administrative Officer on the legal risk program manager at the closed meeting session of council held April 30th, 2025 with respect to 349 Lakewood Drive. Council, we've had our discussion in camera. All those in favor? Any opposed? It's carried. Next, moved by Deputy Mayor Prost, seconded by Councillor Bald, that council receives information and confirm the directions as outlined in the confidential verbal report and update provided by the Legal and Risk Program Manager at the closed meeting session of council held April 30th, 2025 with respect to the MPSB outstanding accounts, Johnstone and Cowling. Council, we had our discussion in camera. All those in favor? Any opposed? It is carried. Next, moved by Councillor Ball, seconded by Councillor East, that council receives information and confirm the directions as outlined in the confidential verbal report and update provided by the Director of Emergency Services, Fire Chief at the closed meeting session of council held April 30th, 2025 with respect to the future relocation of the fire hall, and that the 2025 budget be amended to add the fire hall conceptual design project in the amount of $50,000, and that additional funding from the tax-supported capital reserves be approved, and that this additional funding will only be utilized if the existing approved capital budget cannot support this project. Council, we've had discussion on this in camera. All those in favor? Any opposed? It is carried. Next, moved by Councillor Meredith, seconded by Councillor Patel, that council receive information and confirm the directions as outlined in the confidential verbal report and update provided by the Chief Administrative Officer at the closed meeting session of council held April 30th, 2025 with respect to organizational update. Council, one of the two items was dealt with today. The next one will be put over to a future council session. We've had our discussion in camera. Council, all those in favor? Any opposed? Carried. Alrighty, moved by Deputy Mayor Prost, seconded by Councillor Bald, that the contents of the regular council with closed session agenda for April 30th, 2025 be approved as amended. That amendment being item 10.4.1, CSR 2025-47, Customer Service Standards Policy Update, amended April 30th, 2025 to include the current version of the policy. So anybody that downloaded and read this ahead of time, please go back and revisit. You'll see there'll be a little note saying new because it was updated. An older draft was circulated in the agenda and has now been updated as recently as today. So that's the one we'll be discussing and dealing with this evening. So council, the agenda approval, all those in favor? Any opposed? It's carried. Moved by Councillor McDonald, seconded by Councillor Meredith, that the items and related recommendations contained within today's April 30th, 2025 consent agenda as consent items having been considered by council be adopted with the exception of the following four items which will be pulled. Item 4.1, 10.4.1, CSR 2025-47, Customer Service Standards Policy Update, the new one. Item 10.4.2, CSR 2025-48, Draft Municipal Complaint Policy. Item 10.4.3, CSR 2025-49, County Road 93 North Scope Secondary Plan Project Closure. And item 10.4.4, CSR 2025-50, Municipal Alcohol Policy, which will be considered under Section 17, Reports and other items withdrawn from the consent agenda for council's consideration, including presentations by consultants regarding a report under consideration. Council, this is your opportunity to speak briefly about anything on the consent agenda. We're about to pass on mass. Anybody got anything to say? Councillor McDonald.
Thank you, Mayor Gordon. Just in regards to the municipal accommodation tax update that was included in the council information package, April 14th to the 17th. I can't remember. I need to be refreshed. Does council have any input on how these funds are used?
Through your worship to Councillor McDonald. So that would happen through the annual budget process.
Thank you.
Councillor Meredith.
Thank you, Mayor Gordon. Just a comment on the 10.4.5, the tax arrears. Just glad to see that staff are still continuing to work with our residents who find themselves behind in their in their tax payments. And over the graph shows over the last 3 years that you know, the delinquent payments are rising, not crazy at an alarming rate, but they are rising. So it's always you know, good to have this in the back of our minds when we're going into budget in the next 6 to 7 months. That we see the trend of people of the struggles that people are having. So I just wanted to comment on that and thank the staff for you know, working with our residents and whether it's payment plans, so forth, you know, so they're able to get caught up on their taxes. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. And that's a good reminder. We do have the option to use credit card to pay taxes. But again, we're asking, almost begging you not to do that just because of the high interest you're going to accrue. If you need payment plans, rather than using MasterCard, Visa, Amex, please come and talk to our finance team and we'll work something out for you that's affordable so you can make sure you don't fall into arrears on your property taxes and you don't succumb to, you know, the never-ending interest payment on your credit card. So understanding that some people are living really close to the wire, that's not lost on us, as Councillor Meredith says, and it's always top of mind as we set our operational and capital budgets each year, which we're going to do early this year. So we'll have it nailed down by December. That's the objective and hope. So, okay, anybody else got any callouts? All right, all those in favor? Any opposed? That's carried. All right, moved by Councillor Ball, seconded by Councillor Major. The council will resolve into the committee of the whole. All those in favor? Any opposed? Carried. All right, passing the virtual mic over to Deputy Mayor Prost in Collingwood.
Sorry, it's a little bit different doing it from a distance, not being in chambers.
Mine's on mute.
Okay, hang on. Does that work? Can you hear me? Okay. All right. Okay, first we have the public meeting, and that is 12.1. I would like to call this non-statutory public meeting to order. This meeting is being held at the discretion of council and in the response to the proposed minister's zoning order application affecting a property
My phone's on.
municipality known as 565 Bomb Beach Road. The purpose of this non-statutory public meeting is to provide the applicant's agent opportunity to present the proposed minister's zoning order application and to receive comments from the public about same. Council may, after hearing feedback from the public, make a decision whether to support the proposed minister's zoning order application. This is your opportunity to speak and provide input, and council encourages you to do so. I will now invite the applicant's agent, Jamie Robinson from MHBC Planning, to provide a presentation on the proposed minister's zoning order application. Is Mr. Robinson here?
I am here, yes.
Thank you, and welcome.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Again, my name's Jamie Robinson. I'm a planner and a partner with MHBC Planning. I'm here today, this evening, representing the applicant, which is the Delbrook Group. I just have a short presentation to provide. I've been in front of council a couple of times on this matter, but this meeting is really about obtaining public feedback and providing public the opportunity to provide comments. Next slide, please. In terms of the subject lands are located on the south side of Bomb Beach Road to the east of of Marshall Road.
Yeah.
What Delbrook would like to do is to construct a residential subdivision on the property, which consists of a mix of built forms. Because these lands are located currently outside of the built boundary or urban serviced area with respect to the town of Midland, and based on the town's official plan, in order to be considered for future development, they need to be part of that boundary. Because of the county's official plan amendment number 7, basically we're in a unique position here, is that we're not able to proceed with site-specific applications for OPA, and it would take some length of time for that to occur. So effectively, these lands are frozen. So what the MZO process would do for these lands would effectively allow future development applications to be considered. So that would be a plan of subdivision application, which would have to come before council at a future date. It would effectively recognize the principle of use for this lands for residential purposes. Next slide, please. So just in terms of the specific request, I thought it was important to outline exactly what's being sort of asked of council through this process. So firstly, as I previously mentioned, it would be the inclusion of these lands within the urban serviced area. Second would be that council support the zoning of the lands to permit future residential development. There would be a refinement of development envelopes through the completion of technical studies. I've got a subsequent slide which deals with that. So detailed technical studies haven't been completed for the entirety of the property. So based on which are standard through the planning act process and through a plan of subdivision process. So refinements to the development envelope would need to occur. But the real crux of this request is establishing the principle of being able to develop this property subject to meeting those additional studies to be completed. And then the third aspect is that council support the zoning of these lands that also protects the natural heritage features that are recommended for protection based on the results of the natural heritage review and also whatever peer reviews completed by the town. So the EIS is in progress. It hasn't been completed yet, so I can't tell you specifically what the nature of those limits are. And we're not requesting that council allow development specifically on the whole site. If there's specific natural heritage features that are identified and need to be protected and recommended for protection through the process, then they would be protected through those plans of subdivision application. Next slide, please. So just in terms of justification, really the justification for this request is sort of geography based or geographic based. The lands are adjacent to the delineated built boundary for the town currently. So they're really the next sort of area for potential growth in the town. The second reason relates to servicing and the location of infrastructure. So infrastructure is effectively at the doorstep here. And in discussing the application and proposal with town staff, it's a relatively easy area to service in terms of infrastructure and makes efficient use of those existing infrastructure investments that the town has currently made. So really the two aspects are the location geography from a geographic perspective adjacent to existing or nearby existing development, and then also the location of services to support the development. Next slide, please. Just in terms of where we're at, there is an EIS in progress. The archaeological study has been completed. Work is being undertaken on an FSR and a traffic study. Those will need to be refined based on the constraints analysis that the EIS is undertaking, and we'll have to get some additional details about the specific amount of development. You saw a concept slide on a concept plan on the first slide, but there could be refinements to that based on the results of the EIS. Another key important aspect here is that Habitat for Humanity has been engaged, and the proponent is proposing to dedicate some land and units for use by Habitat for Humanity to create some additional affordable housing options within the town. So there's a partnership being undertaken with that organization as well as part of this development proposal. Next slide, please. So just in terms of a summary, as I mentioned, the concept that's shown on the map could be subject to refinements and will be subject to refinements through the preparation and finalization of the detailed studies, but it gives an idea about the potential for the site. Given this and uncertainty of OPA 7, that's the reason why this unique MZO process is being requested in this instance. We believe the proposal does align with the province and the town's strategic priorities and their infrastructure investments that have been made. The MZO again would facilitate that principle of use on the site, which is really what we're focusing and looking for here. Technical studies have to be finalized and completed, and the development concept limits again will be refined based on the results of those studies and the peer review studies that are undertaken by the town's consultant. So that concludes my presentation, Your Worship and Madam Chairman or Madam Chair. So I'll turn it back over to you. And if there's any questions that council has, I can do my best to try to answer those. Thank you very much.
Thank you for your presentation, Mr. Robinson. I will now open the meeting for comments from the public. If you wish to make a comment, please step up to the podium and state your name and address for the public record. You will have a maximum of 5 minutes to speak. Hang on.
Hi, good evening, Madam Chair, Your Worship, members of council, staff, and public. My name is Greg Barker. I'm a partner and planner with Innovative Planning Solutions. I'm here tonight on behalf of my clients, 195 3518 and 279 8860 Ontario Limited. My clients own lands adjacent to the land subject to the proposed MZO. Immediately to the east being 659 Bomb Beach Road, as well as a parcel with no municipal address, but for the records described as part of Lot 104, Concession 1. And combined, my clients' lands represent a total of approximately 18.7 hectares and 190 meters of frontage on Bomb Beach Road. So we have provided council correspondence regarding the MZO being considered, and my clients are pleased to offer their support for this MZO request. My clients are in the position, or excuse me, in the process of preparing a series of development applications for municipal consideration. We're working through a similar series of technical studies as Mr. Robinson has just outlined, and that is in part through working with town staff to establish the appropriate technical reports to support development in this area. And so this material we are anticipating submitting in the coming weeks, and this will give council an opportunity to review that application concurrently with this request that is currently before you. And I believe that this represents council an excellent opportunity to consider a more comprehensive overall development in this area. As we know, and as Mr. Robinson has indicated as well, the town has invested infrastructure along Bomb Beach Road. And the town also owns lands known as 739 Bomb Beach Road, which, as I understand, were purchased some years ago with the intention for affordable housing project. So between the town's lands, the MZO lands being discussed, and my client's lands, there's an incredible opportunity to work together, implementing development policies that will help shape the future of Midland in this pocket. And we are eager and excited to engage with the stakeholders in this process. So again, I understand a number of technical studies have been initiated, some completed, still underway regarding this MZO request. We will reach out to town staff directly to coordinate with them for the opportunity to review that technical information and provide any comment on that. And I also understand that should the town support this MZO and should the province ultimately approve it, future draft plan application would be necessary on the MZO lands as well. And we would welcome the opportunity to work with the developer and their team to find some alignment and some consistency between the development plans for my clients as well as these lands. So to summarize, Madam Chair, My clients are supportive of this MZO request. We see this opportunity to work together to provide for a comprehensive redevelopment in this area, contributing to the range of housing types and products to the town, and assisting with the housing shortage we're currently all facing. And so with that, I would like to thank you for this opportunity. I look forward to being before this council shortly on my client's lands, and working with your planning department to bring these developments forward. So thank you very much.
Thank you. Is there anybody in chambers from the public that would like to speak?
Yes.
Okay, please state your name and address for the public record, please.
Judy Thomas. I live at 357 4th Street in Midland. I own the property 550 Bomb Beach Road on the opposite side of the road. Oh, okay. On the opposite side of the road to the proposed possible development. I'm not opposed to development, but I'm just wondering at this time and even in the near future, whether the social service infrastructure in our town is capable of managing it. One of the biggest issues is new people coming to this town cannot get doctors, and they overload our existing emergency department because they have to go there for all primary care. And I don't see this being addressed. And I think that kind of issue needs to be addressed before we expand further, because at the present, the people who are moving into the subdivision that's off Highway 12, they cannot find doctors. And the other issue is, I know at least of one case of somebody who moved into the new subdivision off Highway 12. They arrived in August wanting to enroll their children in the public school system. And they were told there was no room in the Midland schools for their particular I think she was a grade 7 child, was one of them, that had to go to Penetang to the public schools in order to be serviced. So I'm wondering whether our infrastructure can cope with this much rapid expansion without first ensuring the services for the people that are presently going to be housed in the new subdivisions that are just being completed. And in fact, some of our local residents who've lived here all their lives cannot get family doctors because their doctors have retired. The other issue is we're a small town, and I think we have to watch our development carefully. Part of the attraction of moving to Midland is sort of the small town appeal and the proximity to nature and open fields. And if we just cram everything in a hurried fashion, it's going to destroy the nature of the town. The other issue with this particular strip of town, of property, is that it acts as a wildlife corridor on the periphery of town. And the animals cross that road going north and south on a regular basis: deer, coyotes, fox, and the occasional bear. And then when I first acquired the property, I inquired about the possibility of having the highway speed limit extended to 60 kilometers an hour all the way to Wilson and Marshall intersection, because there are, especially in the summer when there's the farm stall there, there's traffic problems, it's just a bit of congestion, but also because of the wildlife. This request was ignored. And I know we've had 2 deer fatalities on that strip and other various poor creatures anyway. And I just think if you're approaching a small town do we want to see apartment buildings on the periphery? That was my only other concern about this design. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you. I can ask staff if they're able to answer any of these questions. I can't see, so I'm not sure who's available.
Madam Chair, I'll answer what I can. So under a normal process, when we circulate for comments on applications to the school board will tend to comment on what the capacity is of the schools in that area and where the students would go. Through this process, because a plan of subdivision application is going to be required, we typically will put a condition within the draft plan conditions in there that they do require sign off from the school board. So the school boards will still get an opportunity to review the plan of subdivision application when it does come in, because they do use those numbers to justify if new schools are requiring to be built. In terms of the other questions about doctors, it's a common issue throughout Ontario trying to get local family doctors. We do have existing plans of subdivision within the area that are attracting additional residents. So this is definitely something that is larger than this MZO request that we can continue to request audience with our MPP and when we go to sessions like AMO to make sure that is on the front burner, because we're not the only municipality that's facing that shortage, and it is definitely an important one that we can continue to advocate for. Thank you.
Thank you. Do we have anybody else from the public that would like to step to the podium and ask a question? Yeah. Please state your name and address for the record.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Kimberly Woodcock. I'm the CEO of Habitat for Humanity Ontario Gateway North and the potential partner in the development on behalf of our organization and the North Simcoe chair. Currently strong with intelligent, capable, and very committed volunteers working hard to ensure that there is housing in the community at various parts of the housing continuum. I have only a couple of comments tonight. I am absolutely thrilled to be working on a partnership with Delbrook. In our experience to date, we have noted that Delbrook seems quite community-minded. They're very responsive to our suggestions and our input. A comment on a lack of services from our experience, and we do have anecdotal evidence from your community that housing is needed to provide more service. It is difficult to attract professionals and families that are required for service when there is no housing to move into. And I think the development as designed, again, does cover various parts of the housing continuum, so is inclusive. And Habitat's involvement would certainly influence that in its delivery. I want to thank our volunteers who are here tonight, past Mayor Gordon McKay and our chapter chair, Kate Root. They are two of a good number of people who are working in Habitat's name to better this community with housing. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Okay, so I can't see the whole gallery. Is there anybody else who would like to step up to the podium? Anybody from the public?
Yes, please. My name is David Robert Hobson. Good evening, Your Worship, Council. JP. I stand here before you. I don't disagree with this proposal. I do, and maybe this isn't the place, but I'll just say it. as an OPP officer for over 40 years, many years, as our worship would know. I did fatal accidents. I have a really good, strong take on road design. This area is going to take a lot of study, and hopefully people in this room take this away, because no one wants to see dead people. And let me just think about this for a second. This is a big development. I live on a piece of land that's the same size as this development. I know how big it is. I walk it. I walk my dogs. I look at the creatures that other people have spoken about, turkeys, deer, bear. They're there, and we will interrupt their lifestyle. But that's a lot of houses, and it's a lot of people. It's a lot of kids. It's a lot of bicycles. It's a lot of little kids on bicycles. So this collection of government has to really understand that getting all these people into town, it has to be done safely. They have to be provided with sidewalks, a transit system, and protection, fire, policing, social services, like we're spoken. Lighting would be another, I'm jumping around here a little bit, but I'm trying to keep it within 5 minutes out of my head here. Lighting would be a huge concern for me. It is a dark area of the world out there, and that's the way we like to see it. We hope it stays that way. Noise, again, it's 464 homes, folks. That's a lot of people. Put 2 people in each house, probably put 1.5 cars in every driveway. So the county, whoever does road study and the traffic study, they have to pay some attention there. Possibly a roundabout at that intersection might be a really good idea. And I'm sure that my neighbor at number 2, I'm at number 40, my neighbor at number 100, they're all either related or purchased property from myself or my family. You know, we all have a concern. We want people to be safe, but we also want this development to be done so it doesn't impact our lives as well. So lighting, noise, safety is a big concern. Thank you.
Thank you for your input. Is there anyone else who would like to step up to the podium? Okay, with me not being there to, oh, I see somebody, sorry.
I hadn't seen the subdivision design, and I think the subdivision design is very intense. I didn't see any green space for the places for the children to run around in and swings on swings. I don't know whether that was, it just looked like it was solid packed houses. Thank you.
I'll ask the counselors who are there if they can see anybody in the gallery that may be walking toward the podium.
No.
No, okay. So as there are no further questions or comments from the public regarding the proposed minister's zoning order application, I will now call the non-statutory public meeting to an end. I will read the motion. Could I have a mover and a seconder, please? Council Major and Mayor Gordon. The presentation provided by Mr. Jamie Robinson, partner MHBC, on behalf of the Delbrook Group regarding the Minister's Zoning Order, MZO, request for the lands located at 565 Bomb Beach Road East be received, and that Council supports Delbrook Group's MZO request for the Minister of Municipal Affairs and Housing, and that staff be directed to provide correspondence as part of the MZO request to the Minister of Municipal Affairs and Housing that is required as part of the approval that any residential development shall include the allocation of affordable housing units. Does council have any questions or comments? Mayor Gordon?
Thanks. Maybe it would help if we put that one slide back up that showed the potential site plan. I think that might help answer one of the questions about the green space and park space for people to recreate on that property. Of course, this isn't a detailed design, but it's one option, and it'll be subject to the environmental studies and what's determined to be of natural significance. So just for those in the audience, just that section where the sort of windy part of the road is, where you don't see any density or housing in there, that's an example of parkland, natural space, recreational space for the community, if I understand correctly. Is that accurate? Just getting nods from the developer. Okay, so that's one thing. The second thing to hear that IPS is going to be visiting us. It's a different topic, but the fact that you spoke tonight with more development along that corridor, thank goodness. We front loaded a lot of money, tax money, to service that corridor in anticipation of its growth. It's not, we don't want to sprawl. We want intensity. We want that density and development. No big state lots anymore coming before us. This is the kind of density the province is pushing us for, and our planning team, our growth team, I like to call them, encourages, where you have the density, but not over dense. And I think the comments heard about traffic speeds along Bomb Beach Road and the potential need for expansion of the sidewalk, which right now I think is on the opposite side of the road. Those are all things that we need to contemplate. Reduction in traffic speeds along Bomb Beach, as that becomes, if this becomes a reality, that, just makes sense to me. I'm not the traffic study guy, but it would make sense to me that speeds should be reduced perhaps to that Marshall corridor. But the traffic study will make those recommendations, including if it needs to be any pedestrian crossings to get to it, on the other side, or same thing with traffic lights, because of the people coming and going from the community. There are 2 entrances and exits. So all of that's to come. And the other thing I just wanted to comment on about the MZO, the MZO itself got a bit of a bad rap because it was used or abused, depending on your perspective, in circumstances that caused, the provincial government some embarrassment, as well as the communities that allowed it to be used, because it was done in lieu of another process, the normal process. In our particular case, this tool has never been used in Midland development before. It's never been asked for, never been required. We've been dutifully running all of our developments through the process, but unfortunately the pipe is plugged right now with this official plan amendment number 7 that's stuck waiting for the provincial approval. In anticipation of tonight's meeting, at our last county meeting, we had an opportunity to, I can't remember exactly how I worked it in the conversation, but it came up. I had an opportunity, because we were talking about development and approvals and planning, whatnot at the county level. And I tried to probe to see if there was any indication that the province was ready to approve this OPA 7 that's been stuck in the pipe. And there's no indication yet. We are seeing a flurry of announcements. There's a few more today on public safety that the province is releasing since their new mandate. I'm hoping that, at some point they may get through the backlog and approve OPA 7. If that happens in the, next week, for example, it could easily be, negate the need for this MZO, I think. But realistically, that's not going to happen. There's a lot of other competing priorities right now with all that's going on in the world. So the option to go by MZO isn't one we take lightly, and it's certainly not one that we would entertain if the normal process was available to us. But it sounds like there's more growth applications coming along this service corridor that we've designed and prepared for growth and housing. And that likely there'll be another MZO request coming down the pipe in the near future as we deal with official plan amendments. So from my perspective, I think I've been quoted saying "build, baby, build" more than once. I certainly believe in growing our community. People need housing. To the couple of deputants' points, infrastructure and healthcare are both really important things to support housing, but they're completely out of our hands. We don't have control over the schools or the ability for healthcare professionals to come. And the number one barrier I hear from our doctor recruitment folks is that there's no housing to attract the doctors. So it's chicken and egg. Housing has to come first. There's actually a model called Housing First. And so we're adopting this in every way we can. And it's crucially important that we get housing built. But at the same time, we need to preserve our small town charm, which is why unrestrained, unrestricted, just growth for the sake of growth is not something that I think any of us find desirable. But properties like this that are, as we're starting to hit our urban built boundary with density and a mixed use development where you have the small towns and the little four rise. So none of these are towering condos. This isn't like, you know, Bramley type condos or anything. These four rises that offer rental options for people who just, you know, owning is not in reach right now. And the fact that we're going to be blending in, or if this is approved, we're going to be blending in Habitat for Humanity homes that don't look like an afterthought plugged into the community, built, you know, differently than the rest of the community. They're going to look the same as all the other houses. So there'll be no stigma attached to, oh, look, those are the Habitat for Humanity people in this built form. And the fact that we've been trying to turn ourselves into pretzels, trying to find land for Habitat to donate to them from our land banks so that they can build their tiny home projects and other projects. We haven't been able to because most of our stuff is brownfield. The fact that this is a greenfield construction and these lots are being donated literally out of the profits of a private for-profit developer is absolutely astounding, you know, and I jokingly said to Delbrook, you know, the only thing missing from this is like an orphanage or a public swimming pool. Like, you know, a combination of this blend of built form along with donating lots out of there, it's coming right out of your genes for Habitat, to me, just checks all the boxes. So if there was ever a reason to feel good about this MZO, which feels like a four-letter word in some other municipalities, there's ever a reason to believe that it's the right thing to do in Midland, you look at this example, and I'm hoping the takeaway for other developers will see this and perhaps factor in more Habitat lots into their builds to equally, you know, participate in that public-private partnership, which I believe is really the future in trying to solve the housing crisis rather than relying on upper tiers of governance. So I rambled on here a little bit, but I've been supportive of this from day one. I didn't want anyone to feel like there was any ambiguity. I'm certainly for housing. And, you know, matter of fact, that's the crux of the strong mayor powers that are just going to become a reality tomorrow for many more mayors in the province. The good news is I don't have any belief that I'm going to need to ever pull that tool out of the toolbox. We have a community that knows we need housing and committed to growth. We have a council that's equally committed. We have a North Star. Matter of fact, I told this to the news earlier, that we've all agreed on that are tactical priorities for our community responsible growth. Although we may differ sometimes on the path to get there, we all know that that's our destination. And, you know, as much as it's nice for the province to bestow these extra powers, I honestly don't believe where we're going to see them used this term with this council. And it's certainly a blessing to hear our development community stepping up, wanting to build mixed use, mixed density type urban design that includes the green spaces and the benevolence of and philanthropy of offering up lots for organizations like Habitat. So I couldn't be more in support of this, but I value the input we heard tonight. Our staff will take that away. And what's more, the development community for more than one application, one that's before you tonight and one that sounds like maybe coming in the near future, are also hearing what you're having to say, and they'll be factoring that into their plans for sure. So my thoughts on this for what it's worth.
Councillor McDonald.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor Prost. My question, well, of course, I want to mention I also value the input in this evening's hearing. My question is to the planning staff, if they have any reservation of this MZO process.
Through you, Madam Chair. So the MZO tool, it is a tool in that tool belt for individuals to use. As planners, we work very hard to have planning policies in place to make sure that development happens in an orderly way. So these types of applications do deviate from the normal process that the Planning Act outlines, which includes fully engaged statutory public meetings. So council deviated probably from a normal process for the MZO. Council could have just received the request and then made a decision, but council made a very good decision to have this non-statutory meeting tonight to get the public's input. So that way they have an opportunity to hear what the public may have to say about the application, and then letters of support or not support coming in. But as planners, we support the regular process going through. We do recognize that COPA 7, that is worship referenced at the county level is hung up. But that's why these types of tools are there for individuals to use if there is a holdup there, or if it just can't get around the legislative policies that are there. It is a tool. So from a staff's perspective, we would prefer to see it go through a regular process, because that's what we're required as planners under our code of conduct to make sure we've got public interest and the public participation there. So that's why, as we've proceeded through this process as staff, we haven't given a recommendation. So the decision is solely council's if they want to support this request or not. If council chooses to support it, we will prepare the appropriate correspondence as indicated in the motion to provide to the applicant as part of their MZO request to the ministry. Thank you.
It's a fair response. I appreciate it. Just one more question, if I may, Madam Chairperson. Will it come back to council if everything's granted through the MZO? Will their final draft plan come back to council, or have we lost control after that?
To you, Madam Chair, I believe the plan of subdivision application would come to they still have to go through that process, but there's no public meeting process for that. That requirement has been removed by the province a couple of years ago. So there will still be an opportunity for staff to review and bring the draft plan of subdivision, because we don't have delegated authority to approve subdivisions. I don't believe in our requirements. I'm just looking at Tomaz, but no. So that would still come back to council. So within that's when council would see the draft plan conditions that we would be proposing to include, and the applicant, as part of what they've indicated with those studies being completed, would be reviewed at that time as well.
Thank you.
Councillor Ball.
Thank you. I'm glad we did have the public meeting. Like we said, we didn't have to, but council's commitment is to listen to the public, and I'm glad we did. We have had similar concerns. This isn't the first time this has been brought to us. We spoke about it at length with Delbrook previously to this. Schools was one of the first things I asked about. So I wanted to ensure that the school board is on board with this and that there is that in mind, because I know that this particular development is going into an overcrowded school district. So that's already on our minds, definitely. I think a lot of the time, the things that council are working on in the background are not necessarily making the news. So social services is a huge issue that we are all aware of and we take very seriously here. Doctors, I did approach a panel at AMO last year, and one of the reasons for them not wanting to come into rural areas is livability. What services do we offer? What services do we offer for families coming in, recreation, events, etc.? We currently do not have a huge market for that in Midland, and having a larger tax base, it does allow us to offer more services and more recreation in order to attract people into our community that will have these jobs. I think traffic calming as well is definitely a priority of council. We've already approved measures on the Yonge Street that are coming. So traffic calming will be essential to this development as well moving forward. The environmental studies that we're going to have come forward after that may change what level of green space there is. That hasn't been finalized, as Mr. Robinson said, so that will come back as well. Nothing is finalized in this with the subdivision plan. They still have to go through. So all of these things we are aware of. as well as the social services being able to support on aside from doctors. We're very involved in that as a council with agencies, social service agencies. I sat on, in fact, this morning on the situation table with the OPP and several agencies. So we are working collaboratively with our community in order to ensure that we are moving forward in the right direction for our residents. So that I just want to put your mind at ease, anyone who has feelings about this development, that our feelings are the same and we are asking these questions that you're asking. So I'm glad that we have this public meeting so we aren't missing any of those, because at the end of the day, we want to make sure we're asking all of these questions for you as well. So I appreciate you coming.
Does anyone else on council have any questions for clarification? Seeing none, if I didn't already do it, I'm bringing this statutory public meeting to an end, and you've all heard the motion. All in favor? That's carried. Okay, moving on to number 13, presentations. There are none. Integrity Commissioner report. There are none. Deputations. Huronia Museum. Ms. Nahani Bourne, Executive Director of the Huronia Museum, is here to deliver a verbal presentation requesting permission to allow an ice cream truck on the museum property. Welcome, Ms. Bourne. Sorry.
Thank you
I'm
very
having-
much, Deputy Mayor Prost. Can you hear me? Am I okay? Excellent. Good evening, Your Worship and members of council. Thank you very much for having us here this evening. We're here actually to ask to place an ice cream truck at the south end of our parking lot. We do have a lease with the town of Midland. It runs until 2036. But this is not within the realm of our lease. This would be extraordinary, and that's why we come to you today to ask for permission to do this. We do have a lease on the land where the ice cream truck would be placed on the green there. We have been in discussions with a community member, Margaret Hamlin. She is a local citizen and a member of Garden River First Nation, excuse me. And she came to us with the idea of placing an ice cream truck on the property where the museum operates. It would not be a permanent thing. It would be it would fall under the, oh, excuse me, I lost my big people words. Food truck. Refreshment, thank you. I don't know where that went tonight. Thank you. Sorry about that. It would fall into the refreshment vehicle classification. I've seen it. I've seen images of it. It is almost, it is ready to be put in place, and it is ready to undergo inspection by all the municipal departments that need to have a look and put their seal on it. It's ready to be seen by the health unit as well. We've been in discussion over this for a long time, like I said, since October. We've had numerous discussions with the planning department, bylaw, engineering, our facilities manager here at the municipality, to make sure all of our T's are crossed and our I's are dotted. This ice cream truck will serve made in Canada, soft serve, using a local supplier. It's premium ice cream. And I've been learning about ice cream. Then there's nothing wrong with learning about ice cream. I can say it's ice cream because of the fat content in it. It's real ice cream. I learned that. This is a business that will be locally owned and operated. It's a good partnership for, I think, a lot of us, not just the museum. It adds value to the visitor experience at the museum, for visitors to Little Lake Park, to visitors from outside of our communities coming to North Simcoe to discover. And we've even had discussions about, how that ice cream can help us meet our educational mandate. And we've been looking at, naming some of these treats after, items in the collection to inspire those visiting the ice cream stand to come and check out the collection, like a Group of 7 ice cream cone. Who doesn't want to know what that's about? Or a Turtle Island ice cream sandwich. Who doesn't want to know what that's about? So, I mean, we've We're creative at the museum. We look for good, solid partnerships that will inspire people to visit, that will inspire people to stay, and that will inspire people to learn as well, and ice cream. Just saying that one more time. The museum board of directors has unanimously approved the idea of this partnership and working together. But like I said, it does fall outside the realm of our lease, so we are seeking approval of council. I just made a little list this afternoon about all the wins on this. Because, there's a win to the museum. It adds value to the visitor experience. There's a win to our municipality. We have a brand new business in town. A win to local citizens seeking employment, because I know there will be a need to employ people. It's a win for visitors to the museum and the park. It's a win for dogs on their way to the dog park, because apparently there's going to be pup cups. And ice cream just makes everything better. So yeah, as I said, in my letter, my deputation, I know it's fine, it's ice cream, but we do need council approval to place this on the leased land that we have and work together with Margaret Hamilton on this. So thank you very much for your time this evening. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you for all the information. I'd like to be first in line for the ice cream.
Okay.
I'd like to open it up for questions from council. There's a few. Councillor Major.
Just hold the space bar down and talk, Howie. That'll unmute you.
Oh, thanks for the new secret.
Now you can talk.
Okay, so I met you at budget time and I was so impressed with everything you guys up at the museum do and the extra stuff, just the extra work you do and just a marvelous job and the stuff you have for pets and kids and everything else. So whatever you need, I'm voting for it. Just good luck and get it going and I'll be up one. I guess I won't be first in line for ice cream, but I'll be in the top 10.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Councillor Meredith, and then Councillor McDonald.
I think Councilor McDonald was before me, so she can go before me. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I have one question. If the council approves this, have you selected a name for the ice cream truck?
No, we've been working with that ice cream place as a working title, but it kind of works because everybody goes, "Oh, that ice cream place. Oh yeah, that ice cream place." We'll see. We'll see. Actually, we're just a partner on this. That really is Margaret Hamlin's thing. So, but she does listen to us and like some of the things we say. So maybe we have some input.
We're all licking our lips in anticipation.
Thank you.
Councillor Meredith.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor Prost. I do like and love ice cream. I also, look at the whole scope of the business, the businesses around where you want to put the ice cream truck. And we're talking about the Park Fries, the two major Park Fries at Little Lake, which the town leases property to. As well as the concession stand in the rec center and how that will be affect their business. Has there been any discussion with those two businesses about this ice cream truck? And if so, I imagine if that was one of my businesses, I as much as I would like to have an ice cream truck be beside the museum, but I think it probably would affect my business. So I'm just wondering if you reached out to them about this about putting an ice cream truck by the museum.
We haven't reached out to Little Lake Park Fries. we tried once and we didn't get through, and the product is different. Little Lake Park Fries does hard ice cream. I think it might be one of the dairies that has a big name, but it is like the scooped ice cream where this is soft serve. It is different. And I'm not sure what the offering is at the rec center, actually, in the concession stand. That's a question I can't answer. We did look at whether there, we did look at when we were speaking to your facilities manager, if there's anything that would stop us from having any kind of concession services at the museum because of our lease or the lease that the Little Lake Park Fries has. And it doesn't seem to be a problem. There doesn't seem to be a problem there. The area that's leased to the museum as well as the rec center is exempt from the area that is promised to Little Lake Park Fries.
Okay, thank you. So there isn't any, so you have spoken with town staff on the, I guess, in the lease of Little Lake Park or the concession that there's typically someone will put a radius in of any competition. I'm sure the Dairy Queen falls out of that area, but if you're going to Dairy Queen, I'm not really concerned about is they have the branding, and if someone wants Dairy Queen, they're going to go get the Dairy Queen. So I'm just wondering about the if the town has even looked at this and had any concern about leasing. I think the Park Fries is up for sale right now. Would that hinder? I know we're just talking ice cream here, and I just want to explore all avenues that make sure that we understand what we're going to approve or not approve, and so we're not discouraging businesses from getting into the lease at Little Lake Park or selling their business. Has the town inquired any or have any information on this? Any town staff can comment?
Through you, Deputy Mayor and Councillor Meredith. Yeah, I know Mr. Reicheld's been working with the museum, and we've looked into the leases, and yeah, we've confirmed that there's no conflicts there.
Thank you.
Councillor East.
You, Deputy Mayor. This is the first time that I've ever opened my mouth and I feel yucky. Okay, so Little Lake Service, there is a conflict of interest. The thing is, they just invested over $35,000 into their ice cream last year. There's so much turnover in that restaurant that we have to keep whoever's in there alive. And the truth is that they banked their life on this restaurant, and they banked their investments into serving ice cream in hopes to, serve our residents. I love everything that you guys do, but this will directly affect them. She called this morning and I had a good conversation with her about it. And I understand that the leases are completely separate. I understand the distance between the two, but these folks are banking their life. And the thing is, here on the museum, you're well established, okay? And I really appreciate the direction that you're going, and I love it. But at the same time, I have a family that's hoping to keep that restaurant alive to serve our community. We're slitting our throat if we accept it. So as much as I love, and this is the yuckiest thing that I've ever had to say, is I wouldn't be able to support it just on the fact that we're going to kill their business, and we will be directly affecting their business. They actually do. I'm 95% certain that they actually serve soft ice cream. You can actually see their flag out front from last year. So like they really doubled down on this business to keep. The thing is that restaurant down in Little Lake Park is a huge draw, especially once we get the splash pad built and we reinvest into that park. You will benefit from it, and I see the potential on it, but I also see the damage that it will do to this family that's trying to keep this business open. So as much as I love you, I'm going to have to say no, because I really need to keep their doors open for business for much more than just 1 year. Okay. Like I said, it was the yuckiest thing that I've ever had open out of my own mouth.
I appreciate that. Thank you.
Mayor Gordon.
Thank you. Just for context, if the Huron Museum decided to invest in an ice cream soft serve machine and put it inside your building, we'd have no say. We wouldn't be talking right now. You do what you want. It's your building, you lease it. We don't control how you use it. It's your parking lot. You lease that as well. The only reason this has come to us is because it's a food truck, and food trucks are regulated in the town of Midland, whether it's on your parking lot or if somebody said, hey, council, we'd like to put one down by the I call it the goose, but the swan, down by the front harbor area. So we just to try and keep focus is, there's nothing in the lease that provides exclusivity, and I'm not cold or heartless to this. There just isn't. I've had commercial leases in the past, and I had a computer place. I had Staples open up in the mall, when I was selling computers in the mall too. Like, you can't compete, but you have to, and that's just the way life is, and it's a dog eat dog world. In this case, we're just landlords, and again, if you look at this clinically, ice cream or whatever other activities the museum chose to do to be an attractant for their business or revenue stream, we wouldn't have any say about it. The only reason we're talking about it is because it's a food truck in this particular case. So, and we'll likely see, I would expect, where there's ice cream, there's generally other treats. So perhaps somebody who's got a hot dog cart wants to set up beside the ice cream truck because the precedent is now set. And, we'd be asked the same questions if they met all the health unit regulations and they had, water, wastewater dealt with and they checked all the boxes for their cart or their truck, then, really, why would we get in the way of it? So I'm just trying to look at this thing more clinically, that while I can understand that would be a desire by any businesses that would be nearby, and I would argue that in this case, the Little Lake one is probably a kilometer away. So I wouldn't even call it really nearby. But nonetheless, I can understand the concerns they may have and the struggles we've had in keeping people down there. And the same thing with the skate shop or in the sports and rec center or any other business that may either be in place or attempt to come in place in the future. But that isn't what we're being asked to weigh here, is about people's private business decisions and their wherewithal and how successful they are. And, that is not what we're being asked to approve. We're being asked to approve a food truck in this case, or that's going to focus on ice cream on land that we happen to have some sway over because it's ours that we lease out. And if for those reasons, when I look at this thing in abstract, I would have no reason to say no to this. I wish you all the best. I think it's an exciting venture. Hopefully you're successful. The mobile food business is not an easy business to be in. And there's a lot of overhead and lots of risk. And so I really do wish you well. And I think it's a neat partnership. In tandem, of course, if there's things we can do to help any of our other businesses in town, whether or not they're lessees or tenants of ours, regardless, any business in town, was a grand opening today for one. We'll always do whatever we can to help our local businesses, but that can't be one of the asks of our local businesses. Can't be that we stifle other local businesses that are coming to the community. That doesn't make any sense. So clearly, I'm in support of this. I think it's a novel idea, and Marg Hamlin, if she's behind this, I think it has a very high chance of success. And I love the partnership, the Indigenous connection to it, and I look forward to see what name you come up with, not only for the treats, but for the food truck itself.
Thank you. I know we have the deputation, but Margaret Hamlin's actually here. Is it acceptable that she says a few words? Okay, perfect.
Hi, I just wanted to address Councillor East's comment. If you go up to Highway 93, McDonald's, Burger King, Harvey's, A&W, they do that for a reason, right? I think if we pulled the room, not that I don't go to any of them, but everyone has their love. So if you're driving in the car, kids want McDonald's, the adults want Swiss chalet, doesn't matter. Everywhere you go, in any town, any city, all the food is one place. Everyone's getting a piece of the pie. That's the whole idea. So if someone doesn't like what I'm offering, the park's there. Somebody doesn't like what park's offering, and maybe I get two of the family and they get two of the family, that's great. If we bring more people to the park, just in general, then everyone has, something. My ice cream is not going to be, Nani has seen pictures. It's not going to be what the park's doing. And there will be some other things added to it. It's going to be different. I mean, anybody who knows me, they're probably going to know it's going to be different. So I, I don't think your worry should be that something's going to happen to the park, something bad is going to happen to the park store. I think it's that something good is going to happen for all of us, because the more people we get to the park, they might bypass me and, say, or come and say, that's not what we want, but we're going to go get a burger, or they were going to get ice cream. Now they're going to go get a burger, or someone will get ice cream and someone will get a burger, because I'm not selling burgers or fries. So I think if you look at it in a bigger picture and a more positive, not that you're not positive, but just in the positive way of the more people we have, then the more chance of everyone having a piece of pie. So anyways, I hope that helps a bit. If there's anything I can answer.
I see Councillor Meredith's hand up.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor Prost, and thank you, Ms. Hamlin, for that. And I'll be I'll be supporting your ice cream truck if it does get approved, and I have nothing against your ice cream truck. I find it ugly when it's the same landlord, right? Undermining, which I would say, if I was a landlord, I would make sure that my businesses were set up for success. So, and it is a yucky situation. But I know if you flip roles, and you had the Little Lake fries or the concession stand, and you heard of, the same well, not the same products, but the same type of product is being sold up the street, then you may think differently. I know I would. I've been in business for 25 years. Mr. East has been in business as well. But when it comes to the same landlord, which I find really, really messy, and doesn't sit well with me, that we're releasing to this restaurant. There's 3 basic concessions or restaurants, whatever you want to call them, that serves, whether it's ice creams, popsicles, or so forth. If the ice cream truck's not at the museum, then they're going to if they really want ice cream, soft ice cream or Dairy Queen, they're going to drive to Dairy Queen. But if their options are limited, and they're either going to go to the rec center, or they're going to go to Little Lake fries, and that's the option, and they'll get the business. And it's a seasonal business at Little Lake, and I know from the past owner, when Tony was there, he had struggles, and until we get more, I got the band shell down there now. There might be more traffic now. Splash pads coming in. I think timing when there's more people down there to support the businesses, and make them viable for them to succeed. I think it's important, but unfortunately, right now I can't be on board with this. I'm just thinking, if I was in that position, how would I feel? And I hope you can understand that. Thank you.
Councillor Ball.
Thank you. I just want to talk, I guess, on that point. I am a parent with young children, and we basically live in that park. And I'm going to maybe put a different perspective on this, is that if we're playing baseball down by where the grill is right now, we're not walking up to the food truck to get ice cream. We're getting it from there. But if my kids are, at the rec center or at YMCA, and I'm trying to entice them to go home, we're going to stop there. So we're not going into Little Lake Park. So basically, we're not going to spend the money. We're not going down to Little Lake Park, but we will go there. We'll go to Little Lake Park when we're in Little Lake Park. We're not going, they're in different locations. And I think that they seem close, but when you're actually involved in that park and in different settings of each opposite end of that park, you're going to the place closest because kids are annoying and they don't want to leave the park. I'm just being frank here. They are. They don't want to leave. I'm not dragging them further away. We're going to the closest place. So we're going to support both businesses. And if we weren't, we wouldn't be supporting one over the other. We wouldn't be traveling to go to one over the other. We're going to the closest one. So this just gives opportunity for two of our residents to gain income when only one was before.
Councillor East, then Councillor Patel.
Thank you, through your worship. And I really do appreciate the fastest that you're trying to show me, but at the same time, and I want to speak to something. I'm not negative, okay? I'm just voicing a business that called me to be their voice, okay? There's no negativity here. But the truth is that okay, first of all, when they signed the lease, they were under the impression, and maybe this is where the wording should have been more clear, but they were under the impression, and they still are, that they have all rights to Little Lake Park. Okay, now I understand that the museum isn't, but at the same time, had they known that there was an ice cream truck coming, I highly doubt they would have invested $30,000 to $35,000 into their business. You got like I appreciate what everybody's saying here, but there's so much turnaround in that restaurant that we have to find a way to keep them in there. Okay. So the thing is, if there was a bit of communication between the Huronia Museum and Little Lake Park, they wouldn't have invested $30,000 to $35,000. They would have just carried that business and tried to keep the doors open to serve. As a business owner, I can tell you right now that if I know a jewelry store is moving next to me, I'm going to rethink my investments to figure out how to keep my doors open. So what they did was they just invested their life into this ice cream because they were banking on providing a service for Little Lake Park. Okay. I totally agree. And I love what you're doing. I really do. But at the same time, I'm looking at it as a business owner and their investments. Now, they're seasonal, and you're not seasonal, are you? So you're all year round. They're seasonal, okay? They have a few months to make as much money as they possibly can to reopen the doors the following year, and the following year, and the following year. Even going to what Councillor Meredith is saying, we're landlords. This shouldn't, as far as I'm concerned, this shouldn't have happened. There should have been communication between either staff or, as landlords, the businesses, to keep this from happening, right? And I'm sorry that I come across as negative. I'm not. But I am really speaking on behalf of a concerned resident of Midland that opened a business, took on a lease, and that's huge because they don't even own the building, right? Like, they don't. So what we have to do around this council is look at what choices can we make to keep our businesses open. I have no doubt that the Huronia Museum will do great things and they'll continue to grow with or without the ice cream. But that restaurant that they banked their whole life on depends on recovering their investments of that $30,000 to $35,000. You know how long that's going to take to recover at $2 a scoop? You know what? No, it's true though. And I'm trying to come across to that. Everybody in this room understands business, right? We can't do that to them. So once again, I love you guys, all right? But there's no way that I'm going to do that to a business owner that's only took it over last year, right? They still got years to fight. So I need to figure out a way to keep them selling ice cream to recover the investments that they did. So unfortunately for me, I'm not negative. I'm speaking on behalf of a resident, a business owner that's concerned, that called me. I'm their voice and I'm speaking for them. So I will have to say no, even though I love you guys. Okay.
Councillor Patel.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor Roast. Sorry. So as Councillor Meredith and Councillor East, I have the same concern as they're sharing here. Currently, we are the landlord, and I look at it as a business case for Town of Midland. I don't know what amount of rent we're collecting as a town, or we don't have interest in continuing renting that space? That's one of the question I have. If we don't have that interest in continuing being a landlord for Little Lake Fries or restaurant, I fully support the ice cream truck. I love the idea of soft serve. The Jug City in Wyville is very successful, and supporting Marg would be an amazing thing to have a locally made ice cream. But like Councillor East said, Little Lake Grill there, I think it's called now, they've invested $35,000. They were not aware of this ice cream truck coming in. And also, we might be losing a tenant. That could be a loss for revenue for town of Midland, and that revenue loss will result in the residents paying for it in some other ways through taxes. So maybe there's an appetite for a different location that we could explore for Marg, because I do love the idea that Marg is proposing. That's all I have to say. Thank you.
I think I completely support this for the museum. I think it's something that's completely separate from the rental that we have at the Little Lake French Fries. It's completely different. And my understanding, and maybe staff can maybe elaborate, we're not renting a building to anybody for this ice cream truck. So in a sense, we're not necessarily like a landlord twice. If maybe somebody from staff can explain that.
Through the chair, no, I don't believe that's correct. This whole process revolves around the license application for a refreshment vehicle on the property. The difference here is that because it's on municipal property, Section 8A of the licensing bylaw requires that the person wanting to operate has to get council approval before they can actually they can obtain a license. So that's what this revolves around.
Okay, thank you for that clarification. I don't know if any, but there are some other hands up. But I would like to add that I fully support this. I think, I just fully support this. I think this will be good for the town. It's good for the museum. And I don't think we should be really considering somebody else's situation or personal situation in making a decision the way it's being presented to us at council. I think that's what we need to focus on and look at that. And for me, I 100% approve it when that comes to the voting. So right now, I think we have Councillor Bald.
Yes, I am totally in favor of having you do that because, as you know, every day I take my big dog and he actually, has a little bit of the ice cream. He loves that. And I love it too. So in this summer, I will be there every day. Okay, thank you.
Thank you. I just did want to make note too, also to it has nothing to do with our lease agreement, but we started these discussions October 10th last year, and I started discussions with town staff. Are there any issues? Is there anything that we need to be aware of that we should not pursue this? Are there any conflicts of interest? And that included looking at the lease of Little Lake Park Fries, which I have this, it was emailed to me. The museum leased land is exempt from that, as is the rec center. So they have exclusive rights to Little Lake Park, absolutely correct, with the exception of museum leased land and the rec center. I like you too.
Councillor McDonald.
Thank you. I just would like to comment also that there was initial capital investments for the person that is proposing to run this ice cream truck. And as was just mentioned, they started investigating the possibility last October and weren't given any roadblocks. So I've seen the truck and I think you've got to give them a try, is my personal opinion. But my question is, would it be a 1-year lease that would have to be reviewed every year?
Through the chair, yes, that would be correct. A 1-year lease, which would expire on December 31st of 2025. So if they wish to open up the food truck next year, upon trying to obtain a license for next year, they would essentially have to do the same thing they're doing today.
Thank you.
Okay, I don't see any hands up. Could I have a mover and a seconder and I'll read the motion? Moved by Councillor McDonald. Seconded by Mayor Gordon. Sorry, okay. That the correspondence dated April 16th, 2025 and verbal presentation provided to council from Nahani Bourne, Executive Director of the Huronia Museum, be received for information, and that Margaret Hamlin be directed to submit to the town all required documentation related to the refreshment vehicle license application in accordance with sections 7 and 8 of bylaw 2010-28, and that conditional upon the submission of all required documentation, council approve the placement of a refreshment vehicle, namely that ice cream place at 549 Little Lake Park Road, Huronia Museum location, to be operated by Margaret Hamlin for the 2025 season, and that this approval shall expire on December 31st, 2025. All in favor? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Do I see your hand, Councillor Bald? 6.
Yes.
1, 2. Okay. And any opposed? 1, 2, 3. That's carried.
Thank you very much for your time this evening. I really appreciate it.
Thank you for your presentation and good luck.
Thank you.
I apologize. Okay, moving on to number 16, committee and local board delegation or memo. There are none. 17, reports and other items withdrawn from the consent agenda for council's consideration includes presentations and consultants regarding a report under consideration. We have 17.1 CSR-2025-47 customer service standards policy update. Could I have a mover and a seconder, please? Mayor Gordon and Councillor Major. Okay, do we have any discussion with this motion? I'll read the motion first. I just read it.
All in favor,
No, hang on. Didn't I just read that?
Yeah.
Oh. Okay, so the motion reads that staff report CSR-2025-47 customer service standards policy update dated April 30th, 2025 be received, and that council approve the proposed updates to the customer service standards policy. Do we have any questions or comments? Or Councillor McDonald.
Thank you. This is the motion that we received notice that it was amended. and I haven't really had a chance to compare the one that was posted originally. Could someone please just briefly point out where the amendments were made from the original that was submitted?
Thank you, through the chair, to Councillor McDonald. Yes, the policy that was included with the report was a previous version. So sections 4.2 through 4.5 were amended to remove the 5-day follow-up. And the reason for that was most of the time, some of the follow-up would be within 3 days. It could be 10 days later. So as long as the staff is keeping the customer up to date on their case or on their situation, then they would just follow up within the first 2 days as receiving the inquiry, and then continue to update the customer after that. So that was the section that was updated 4.2 to 4.5.
Thank you.
Councillor Meredith.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor Prost. So that section of 4.2, 4.5, that was wasn't that in the original one? Is there something language that's different from the original? Because I read the 5-day. You wanted to eliminate the 5-day. So was I reading the right one?
Through the chair to Councillor Meredith.
Yeah.
No, the first one didn't include, it actually included the 5 days, and it was actually to be removed. So in the updated policy, it's been removed.
Okay, I'm just trying to, I haven't had a chance to look at it, the updated one. So that's why I'm kind of in, it's been a busy day here in Collingwood. Not fun at all, I tell you. So has that whole heading been removed then? Oh, sorry, I'm looking at the one online still. Sorry, okay. Well, I'll just go on with my 10.41, which we're on. So I did pull that report, and I was kind of looking for the changes, but I couldn't pinpoint them. Sorry, I'm just trying to get my bearings here. So the one, and it kind of goes into 10.42. They kind of interject. I pulled both reports. The appeal, when you're looking at the anonymous requests, when I look through it, and I'm looking at the anonymous requests will not be addressed. They'll be eliminated. The question is when people have complaints and whether they're repetitive, as you outline in these reports, once the staff make a final decision and they cut off communication with the probably the resident, and it would be the complainant, the complainant, or it could be from out of town. But and then after it said that there, in the report, there's no appeal process after staff make the final decision that if we're not going to answer to you anymore, then they have to go to an appeal process, possibly the ombudsman. I can't pronounce that right now. But my question is, if a resident or is not getting anywhere with staff, can they have the opportunity to come to a council member to plead their case? So, and I would like the opportunity for like if someone has an issue, they're not getting anywhere with town staff, that if they come to a council and you've already deemed that case closed without reopening it, can council have the ability to reopen that.
Through the chair to Councillor Meredith. So I believe you're talking about the complaints policy. Is that correct? The municipal complaint policy? This is where, so what we try to do is resolve it at the staff level first. And then if there is a complaint, because you also mentioned anonymous complaints. So I'll address that as well. But on the complaint policy, sorry, did you want to say?
Madam Chair, I just wanted to mention that we have the motion on the floor for the customer service standards policy. So we should keep the discussion to that, and the complaint policy will follow.
Okay, Councillor Meredith, do you want to wait for the next one? For that answer so that we can finish this motion?
Is 10.4, I'm not sure why in my notes I have 10.41 or 10 point, there's a section at 5.6 where there's an appeal and the decision of the towns is final and no appeal process is available. Is this in this? I'm trying to find it right now, and it's 5 point, I had it written down as 5.6 under. And I can't seem to find it anymore.
Madam Clerk?
Am I looking at the?
Deputy Mayor Prost, I believe the section you're referring to, Councillor Meredith, is the complaint policy, not the customer service standards policy, which is the first one.
Okay, gotcha. So
I've been told that you're talking about section 10 in the customer service standards policy.
Okay. I'm kind of jumping between both of them here on the screen. Customer service, number 10. Yes, correct. Right. So if the appeal is denied, so basically I'm asking when staff comes to basically I don't want the citizens of our town muzzled by a decision that they feel that you know, they feel that they're being, you know, they're not being listened to or heard, right? Their complaints. So sometimes I'll get you know, complaints from residents, and they're not happy with the outcome, and communication is cut off with staff. I don't think that's customer service, and they come to a counselor and they plead their case to them. Would a counselor have any right to go back to staff and say, listen, this is, you know, I heard their side, I hear your side. Maybe it's in the documents that, you know, that it says that this is the course we take. Maybe something has to be changed. I don't know. So I'm just wondering if there's anywhere in this this policy that a counselor can open the decision made by staff, if they could open it back up, if that's a possibility.
Through the chair to Councillor Meredith. So I believe if you're talking about, I'm not sure if you're talking about Section 10 appeal of restrictions on the customer service standards policy. This has to do with if a customer has been, you know, given some restrictions on services such as transit or attending a municipal building. They can appeal the service restrictions, and then the department manager would look at it as well, and potentially the CAO. And certainly if council is requested to get involved, then staff would also consider council's thoughts on it as well.
Well, isn't this, you're talking about a service like transit? This is customer service. Is that, you're talking about those kind of services in this report?
All of the services.
So what's customer service?
Yes.
Customer service is me coming in and complaining about something. Is that not correct?
Potential. Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
Could be
So
about transit,
could be
it could
about,
be about roads, it could be about anything.
okay. So that's what I'm talking about. I'm not talking about the services that we provide our residents. I'm talking about the customer service experience, I guess.
Yes.
And am I taking this this policy the wrong way?
Through your through Deputy Mayor to Councillor Meredith. So the part that you're reading is an appeal process. So any complaints would have gone through, they would have been fully reviewed. There would be an appeal process, and this appeal process would be looked into. And so there would have been lots of opportunity to review the item and to get all the data, and we would document the data to appeal. I do hear what you're saying. I mean, someone, and we've seen this, people take it after they haven't liked the answer, they've gone through an appeal process, gone through myself. If they don't like the answer, they go to someone else. But at some point, we do have to stop the cycle. So I will guarantee that staff will be very fair in how we look at any of the items that come through, and any appeal process we take seriously. And it is something that staff would review and make sure that we go through. So a member of the public always has the opportunity to go to a council member, but and we could have that discussion after, but they wouldn't have ever an opportunity to come to council because we don't do deputations on complaints about staff and our processes. Does that help?
Yeah. Yes, I just want to make sure that they have a voice, right? And we're not taking that voice away. And if they're not getting, and some residents, they, I visited, but I talked to a resident a couple days before I came down here, and they say, oh, I didn't want to bug you, but this, and this, right? It had to do with the street sweeper. But anyways, stuff like that, they don't always come. That's a different. But it's their voice that needs to be heard, right? So I want to make sure these policies that we're putting in place don't muzzle our residents' voice. So that's basically my concern, and I want to make sure that council has the opportunity to interject. And sometimes it's a common sense resolution. Not everything we have in our policy is 100% right all the time. So sometimes common sense has to come into play. So that's all I'm kind of getting at. So I wanted to see something in this policy that would give the opportunity for council to, if a resident came to them, that they could share their voice to staff directly through you, of course.
Through Deputy Mayor Prost to Councillor Meredith. So yeah, I think that does happen today. If there is a complaint, council has reached out, and I've worked with staff, and I will say, I don't know of a time where we haven't resolved a situation. So I think it's very rare that there's an impasse where someone doesn't walk away understanding why the decision was made or happy with the decision. So I think it is probably the 0.001%, but I feel confident that the policy in front of you will address what you're saying. We'll definitely never take the voice away from the customer.
Okay, thank you. And then one last request: when you're updating these policies, it would be very, very helpful if we seen, the original policy and then the changed wording in the policy highlighted in the reports for councillors. Because we don't know what the original policy was, and going back and forth from the old policy to this policy would just be a lot easier for myself. Speaking for myself, I'm sure other councillors would appreciate that highlighted change in wording or and so forth. Thank you.
Mayor Gordon and then Councillor McDonald.
Thanks. And I just wanted to reiterate what the CAO was saying. So clearly, I get a lot of these type of complaints too. People walk by my office, they've just hit the window up, didn't get the answer they wanted, storm into my office and sit down and vent, and that's what I'm there for. A lot of times they're expecting, me to override what they were just told. And although there are times where, the story they tell me differs wildly from what I hear when I follow up with the CAO, and that's not uncommon because no one ever tells the story where they're the idiot in the story, right? That's human nature. I couldn't even really do that. So, the bottom line is I forward these things off to the only person who I need to forward them to, and that's our CAO, right? So I redirect them. If ultimately they get to the CAO and the CAO makes a decision that, still doesn't make the person happy, and I tell them, well, I'm standing by, that's who manages the operational side of our organization. I'm sorry, like I'm governance. If they're not happy, then I know that they shop that opinion around to their counselors, because counselors will call me and say, is this dude or whatever gal called you about so-and-so? And then, yeah, we have. And then we end up having this whole conversation. So that's human nature and, par for the course. And I know Councillor Meredith, you're as accessible as I am, and you're getting these calls and complaints too. But I guess my only advice is just keep handing them off to the CAO. That's why she gets paid the big bucks, to manage this and to figure out what staff said or didn't say, or, are they following policy that we approved? And she will, I'm hoping, and so will staff. If there's a policy that we have in place that they're following, that every time they do, they cringe because it's like, this is so stupid. Why do I have to do this policy? It should be blah, blah, blah. That they would advance that to the CAO and we would see an update as we are right now, with changes that are largely driven by staff experience trying to manage complaints based on our policies that we approve. So I'm glad that they're coming forward like this, and that we get a chance to parse them. So that's just more of a statement because I feel your pain, Councillor Meredith. It's frustrating. But our role, of course, is not to investigate these things or interrogate. Everything stops at the CAO. What my question was, though, is more for Angela. In our ticketing system, citywide, I think is what it's called, right? I've never actually seen this platform, but I'm quite familiar with sort of ITSM type systems that are ticket based. Is there a status? I'm sure there's a status, open, closed, or something like that. Probably a bunch of statuses. And is there any type of metric, or perhaps it's you that monitors this, to look for, if we're not going to have the timeline of a 5-day, closure rate, are there metrics on closure rates, or to look at outstanding tickets that, when you review them briefly, like, oh man, this should have been dealt with last week. Why is it still sitting open? Things get to the side of the desk or fall between the cracks. I don't know what the workload is. I know we get a lot of tickets, but is there some way that, if we're going to remove this sort of prescriptive follow up within 5 business days, is there somebody monitoring this to make sure that if it goes to 12 or 30 or sometimes never, those are the complaints I get, radio silence complaints. And I have no way to justify them because it's unacceptable, right? And so that gets usually moved to you through the CAO. But is there some mechanism to monitor this to make sure that things don't fall off, and that the radio silence, as I call them, complaints, where people just naively and properly expected some kind of follow-up and didn't get it? Is there a way for you to capture those and address them before they become a complaint to Councillor Meredith, myself, or other councillors?
Through the chair to Mayor Gordon, yes, we, either myself or the department managers are the ones that review the cases and ensure that they're on track. And oftentimes we'll also get calls from customers asking for an update on their case. And so our customer service staff would also work with the department to request an update. And when staff are working with customers on their inquiries, they will give them a timeline, try to give them a timeline for when they anticipate that they'll be able to resolve the inquiry, or it may not be able to be resolved. So we do provide those timelines, and we try to keep up to date with the customers on timelines for their cases. For instance, if there was a sod repair, those are going to be done in the summer. So we build a list of those repairs for the operations department, and it's usually either done by the operations department or it's contracted out. So they may sit for a few months before those cases are resolved. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, fair enough. I'm just looking for some kind of, alert to, or a report you scan every week going, hey, these things are well over our SLA, if you want to call it that, the service level agreement, where we're striving to get back to people within 5 to 10 days. These things have exceeded that. What's going on, right? And then go back to the staffer and hold them accountable. This is your ticket. It's assigned to you. What's going on? Like, can we get this resolved? Oh yeah, I resolved it yesterday. I just forgot to update it before I went home and change the status to closed. Okay, learning, right? But if that becomes a routine thing, then that's a training issue. And these are all things you manage, I'm sure, as part of your comms team.
Yes, thank you.
Councillor McDonald.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor Prost. Through you to Ms. Chenier. You mentioned that the removal in 4.5, it removed the 5-day follow-up. Your appendix on page 8 refers to the 5-day follow-up at 3 different places. Will that also be adjusted, or is that different altogether?
Through the chair to Councillor McDonald, yes, that was adjusted on the new policy, on the new update. There is a mention of 5 days for correspondence. So that is the follow-up for correspondence that's received by mail. Everything else is a 2-day follow-up, an acknowledgement within 2 days.
Thank you.
You have a follow-up, Mayor Gordon?
Maybe just an opportune time to throw this out there. Every once in a while, I get what I call the old ransom note slid under my door. They're anonymous complaints. It's hard to do anonymous complaints standing at the front counter, although some people will stand there and say, I don't want to give my name. I just want to tell you this. Fair enough. But the ones that I get by either email or typed out or literally handwritten sometimes, it's slid under my door. While I appreciate receiving anonymous complaints, I'd never turn away a complaint. It's very difficult for us to follow up if, especially if there's allegations or deep concerns levied in those complaints. There's just no ability for us to trace back and follow up. So I just want to assure folks out there, and I'm looking to speak to one in particular right now, that we get these complaints and we have no ability to validate some of the claims that are made in them, and no ability to follow up with you and give you any assurances that point 1, 2, and 3 are actually misperceptions. Here's the actual reality. Point 4, hey, that's a really good point and something we'll work on. I have no way to do that, and neither do other counselors or staff. So, from my background in law enforcement, I used to deal with anonymous complaints all the time and Crime Stopper tips. But the reality is most of the informants or people that would have something they really wanted to share with the police, we would know who they were, but we took great steps to protect their identity, right down to not compelling them to testify in court. This is a whole different level of thing in politics, right, in the town here, but I'm just using this as an example that hopefully you have faith that if you really have concerns about something that's going on in town, either with your neighbor or with the town service delivery or staff or anything, whatever, something that you have, have the faith in speaking to somebody in authority here, face to face, or even by telephone, where we have some ability to get back to you on it. Because the strength that we give an anonymous complaint, by default, has to be far less than a complaint where we can actually interact with somebody, fact check them, know context and all these things, and have a conversation rather than just receiving. It's like listening to a radio broadcast when you're reading it. You have no ability to ask questions or get clarifying because it's anonymous. So just an appeal to the folks that do like to engage in an anonymous fashion. I'd like to believe that you have the faith that will keep your identity preserved, protected. Our staff don't share information with us either when they receive it at the front counter. It's none of our business who called in. If there's an issue, we just want to know the issue. So I'm just encouraging folks that do like to engage in municipality anonymously to please reconsider, because I want to be able to give more weight to things that we receive, and it's very difficult to do with an anonymous complaint. So there it is. That's just my plea. There's every week there's something that's slid under my door. I appreciate that. But it's frustrating because I have no ability to follow up. And you also, whoever you are, in each case has no idea whether I'm looking at it going, yeah, whatever, pitching in the garbage, which I'm not, but just, maybe that's what you think if you don't hear or see any result from it. Or, you don't know whether I've followed up on it and made some changes based on what you've submitted. So two-way communication, adult communication, highly appreciated. We don't need to put it into a policy, but it's just an appeal for what it's worth to folks that are caring and about issues in the community and want to collaborate and contribute to us. Please have faith that we'll protect your identity when it's time to do that, and that we have some ability to follow up with you and let you know the results. So there you are. That's my little PSA for anonymous complaints.
Seeing no further questions or comments, council, you've heard the motion. All in favor? That's carried. Moving on to 17.2. Do I have a mover and a seconder, please? Councillor Ball. Mayor Gordon. Oh, sorry, it's whoever I'm kind of seeing first. I'm not used to looking this way. So the motion reads that staff report CSR-2025-48 draft municipal complaint policy dated April 30th, 2025 be received, and that council approve the draft municipal complaint policy. Do we have any comments or questions? No?
No, let's do it.
Councillor Meredith.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor Prost. My views on this is somewhat like 10.41. But as we move down as well, the process of complaints, it says the process in, I guess it's on page 3 of the policy. The process for submitting and handling complaints is summarized as follows. So complaints are submitted using an online form. So are there any other options if you don't have access to online? What are your, can you phone in a complaint? What are the other options available to our residents?
Through the chair to Councillor Meredith, if a resident or a complainant is not able to use the online form, staff would assist them either via phone call or have them come into the office to provide their information, and we would take notes and submit the form on their behalf so that we have a record and that it's in our tracking system.
Okay, thank you. And is that noted in the policy? May have missed it.
It's not noted in the policy, but it is a standard practice that we would provide.
Okay, so I guess probably the majority of people don't actually read the policy, so they're probably either calling you in or calling in, and then you're directing them in the way, whether it's the form online or if they would obviously tell you if they didn't have that form of communication, then you would help them out in that way. So that would be probably what I'm thinking would happen if someone didn't have that access.
That's correct.
Okay, thank you.
Seeing no further comments or questions. Oh, Mayor Gordon.
Just further to my PSA from before, sliding it under my door is not one of the sanctioned ways to file a complaint with the municipality. So please walk a couple steps down, talk to the friendly faces of the glass. Nothing you're going to tell them they haven't heard before. And I've heard them talk people off the ledge who are just losing their minds about things. As a matter of fact, there was one this week, and I thought I'm going to go out there and rescue them, but they were doing such a great job. Actually, I think Angela, you may have come out and thrown a life ring. Yeah, and so I mean, sure, I can come out there and take over and diffuse this, but you and your staff did a great job. I mean, this person wasn't throwing things or anything, but they were quite animated and frustrated. And you did a fantastic job. So I'm witnessing this, audibly from my office. My door is wide open. The person, stomped out basically, but they knew my door was wide open. I'm right there staring, waiting for them to come in and figure I'm next to let me have it. Literally, you answered their questions to their satisfaction for that day, and off they went. So I've seen it in action. You and your team do some great de-escalation. Sometimes people come in angry for a whole variety of reasons, and our staff are just the people that end up taking it. I know there's things in here that says you don't have to take it, and I get it, but I also appreciate the leniency you provide, and it's a team approach, and nobody left in tears after this, because this one got kind of escalated. But anyway, it was well done, and I didn't feel I needed to go in there and rescue anybody. You have my respect at watching the de-escalation happen, and that was great to see in action. So again, come into the counter, call the phone, put in the service those are really the three best ways to do it. The last resort should be calling your counselor and chewing us out, because all we're going to likely do is ask you to please put this, tale of woe into the service systems to give our staff a chance to deal with it properly. Right? So as we don't solve these complaints, although we're happy to be an ear, you elected us to be your ear and your voice sometimes, most of the time, but the preferred way to put these complaints in is go through the proper channels, in person, phone, or by email. And then, of course, if you're not satisfied, come to council. We'll listen to it, and we will very likely refer you either back to service folks or to the CAO if it's something, because we don't meddle in the operational side of the organization. We're prohibited from doing so. So.
Okay, council, you've heard the motion. All in favor? Opposed? That's carried. Can I have a mover and a seconder, please? Councillor Major and Councillor East. The staff report CSR 2025-49 County Road 93 North Scoped Secondary Plan Project closure dated April 30th, 2025 be received, and that the County Road 93 North Scoped Secondary Plan Project be terminated. Can I ask Steve Farquharson, our Executive Director of Community and Growth, to provide a brief overview, and then we can have questions and answers.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So I'll give a brief overview, but I'll turn it over to our Manager of Planning to give a more in-depth analysis of the staff report. So this study's been around for quite some time. It started and then it stopped, and then it started and stopped. And during that time, we've received, as council's aware, grants from the province to help facilitate infrastructure developments and upgrades throughout the municipality that'll help get additional residential development happening, in particular along the Highway 12 and Highway 93 intersection area. So with this one here, what we're looking at is we had a study completed and it came back with some very limited development opportunities within the secondary plan area. And what we're proposing is to have developers come in on their own with their OPA file. So right now, the official plan does restrict development from happening until that secondary plan is completed. So what we're doing by us closing out this secondary plan, we're allowing developers. So for example, we do have an application that has been submitted by GBGH for a brand new hospital, which will be coming forward to council for a public meeting next month for a rezoning and official plan amendment. So they are within the secondary plan area. So they would have to wait for us to complete all these studies and the secondary plan before they could even come forward with this important project. So we've been in discussions with other developers and Tomaz has had meetings with them to discuss. In particular, there's one developer who owns a couple of properties within the secondary plan area. So perhaps with that, Madam Chair, I'll turn it over to Tomaz and he can fill in some of the blanks that maybe I've missed or ones that I've haven't gone over yet.
Thank you.
Thank you, Deputy Chair. So just to add a little bit more meat on the bones, we are essentially actioning a recommendation from our consultant firm that was hired to help us develop the secondary plan for this area. And they everything started off with what they called as a natural heritage system assessment, and they looked at 5 properties within the broader County Road 93 secondary plan area, and they found that there was very limited development potential based on their initial cursory review of land in that area. So the number is 12%, or out of 77.6 hectares, only about 9.4 is developable, according to their work. And we agreed with that finding that they are a consultant. They were doing that work for the town. So their recommendation was that the town look elsewhere for other opportunities to accommodate growth, particularly, and as I indicated in the staff report, lands along County Road 93 that are empty or fallow farm fields. And with what Steve mentioned earlier, we do have some infrastructure funding that could potentially provide servicing to those lands. So we felt that this was the right time to move on from this project and look at other opportunities. And as Steve mentioned, this doesn't close the door for development opportunities. We did communicate to the property owners in the scope secondary plan area that we would support their sort of request to move on with development in the secondary plan area without a secondary plan being established, because there's history of the town supporting development here. So typically the town would not support development without a secondary plan being in place. So that's essentially the nuts and bolts of our staff report. Thank you.
Any comments or questions from council? Oh, Mayor Gordon.
So thanks. The key takeaway is this is not like a development killing or growth killing choice to shut this down. If anything, it's making things more streamlined. We're acknowledging there are significant tracts of land in our community that are worthy of a natural heritage designation. People have heard me prophetizing about just how development killing it's been in our community, and it's terrible, and we got to review it and fix it. While that's true of large parcels of land in our main growth area, that's not an accurate way to illustrate some of the areas that truly are deserving of the protections, which is why it can't be a ham-fisted approach and just rip the old natural heritage off and into the garbage can. And that's not something I've ever suggested we do, but we need to take a more thoughtful, reasoned approach. So we're seeing the fact that we have development in our community that's being approved, and we're working through the process with the developer. We're, as part of the review, dealing with the natural heritage designation, which is different than the natural heritage system, just to be extra confusing, right? But the reality is Pine Valley Homes, for example, who owns the tract of land behind Superstore, who, made some notoriety by clear cutting the forest without the appropriate permits, then threw himself on the proverbial sword and paid penance with the county, who polices that, and has settled with the county, and all is well. Has some amazing plans that are going to be coming forward to the council to build a subdivision community in there that factors in the natural heritage features, but still allows for a nice mixed community, similar to the kind of thing we were just showing tonight, to be built in there, which provides housing in very close proximity to the current hospital and literally across the road from the new hospital, which eventually will be built on the land adjacent to the current hospital. So it's still a growth potential. And when I got this report, my first thought was, oh my God, we're going to do something that's stifling growth and development in the town. And it turns out it's just the opposite. So it's a good news story. Anybody that's concerned about or has been following the Pine Valley plan, which, it really hasn't come to this council yet, but will be, I think, in relatively short order, as well as all the exciting stuff we're doing with the secondary plan for the 1293 corridor that we were lavished millions of dollars from the province to, put infrastructure in to support development. This is a good news story for growth and development in our community that's not unchecked, growth for the sake of growth, sprawl and all these things that we're discouraged from doing, which, I don't support either. We got to keep that small town charm that makes everybody love Midland. So this is good story, and thanks for the very fulsome report on what is a very complex matter. And this whole scope secondary plan was something that was implemented 2 councils ago, I think, or was it back in my last term? I think it was might even before that, but it's been a bit. And, you know, we pay the sage advice from our consultants to help us move things forward, and their advice we follow. So anyway, I appreciate this coming before us, and the fact that, you know, I did have the call from Pine Valley. He was whacking balls down in Florida when he got the notification that it was being canceled. And of course, he drew the immediately negative conclusion, which then had me making the phone call. What's Steve? What does this mean, Steve? And to, you know, to hear that this is actually a good news story, and was able to relay that in my simple brain way to the developer. This is all good news along for growth for in the community. So thanks for dumbing down what is a very complex thing that was approved long ago, and moving that focus now to the 1293 corridor, where it really needs to be closely examined as we look to service it. So, right on.
Councillor Meredith.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor Prost. In the report under the financial impact of this secondary plan and canceling it, in the agreement with Pine Valley Homes, they were to be incurred, invoiced by the town. Did we recoup all of our expenses on this project through Pine Valley Homes? It's kind of vague in the financial part of the report about recovering costs. So, is there a detailed report on the financial impact from this termination?
Through you, Madam Chair. So this project essentially stopped running in 2020, and any invoices related to the project were already covered. So there's no outstanding invoices to the planning partnership, the Plan B, or any other consultants that I'm aware of. So there's other financial matters regarding a deposit, for example, that the town is still holding on for the project. So when if council approves this report and the project is terminated, we would work with Pine Valley Homes to resolve any other outstanding matters, but there's no invoices or nothing that the town is essentially on the hook for at this time.
Okay, thank you. So we haven't been working on it since 2020. So, and I guess Madam CFO wasn't here in 2020. So, does anybody have any recollection on where we stand on this project? If we actually broke even, if are we going to break even, or did the taxpayer pay for any of this project that is now terminated?
Through Deputy Mayor Prost to Councillor Meredith. I can certainly provide a reconciliation, Councillor Meredith. I have a vague recollection of this file, but it's just I don't have the details in front of me, but I would be happy to report back on that.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, I would be interested in see what the actual financial impact was. I'm sure that we had we're not at a break even. I'm sure there was some costs to the town in this, but I just wanted to make sure well, I get that information. That'd be great. Thank you. God, I'm so tired.
Councillor McDonald.
Thank you, Deputy Post. My question is in regards to, well, I'm glad to hear it's a good news story, but I just want to be reassured that there's no legal implications that might result from this decision if we support canceling the North Scoop Secondary Plan project.
Through you, Madam Chair, we did have a conversation with our legal team, and we believe that there is no legal liability or exposure to the town. At this time, there are still some financial things that we have to work out with Pine Valley Homes, but we're going to do that in a spirit of fairness and cooperation, as is the language in the agreement that we have with them. So we'll look to resolve that agreement and part ways amicably.
Thank you.
Council, you've heard the motion. All in favor? Opposed? That's carried. We've been at this for 5 hours. I'm going to call a 10-minute bio break.
I vote yes.
Well, welcome back. We're on to 17.4. Could I have a mover and a seconder, please? Councillor East and Councillor Bald. That staff report CSR-2025-50 municipal alcohol policy dated April 30th, 2025 be received, and that council approved bylaw 2025-27, including the proposed municipal alcohol policy, and that the policy be effective for all bookings made on or after April 30th, 2025. Do you have any questions or comments?
No, let's go. See none.
Councillor Emeritus.
Sorry, Howie. I have read the majority of the policy. The one area which I know in the downtown core, and actually up in on Highway 93, there's some patios, some barber shops that have a patio out, and they actually have a liquor license. One now, there's a new business downtown Midland that has a liquor license, a barber shop, and one on Highway 93. I think they put it at a patio last year, and they sell alcohol, cigars and so forth. But I do not think they sell food. And in our alcohol policy, to be compliant, and it's on town property, so it would come into effect on the downtown property because it's on town land, but it wouldn't actually come into effect on the town up or the property up on Highway 93. So because the town has in their policy you have to provide food, then I believe if the barbershop downtown, I believe it's Hemingway's, they would not be able to have a liquor license or have a patio that would, and I think the purpose of having a patio is to enjoy a beverage while you're waiting for your haircut, or afterwards, after your haircut, have a beverage. So that's my one area right now, which I'm not in agreeing with the policy. I'm not sure how we can get around that. And I don't know, the previous policy didn't have the downtown core in it, and why now do we have to actually put the policy for other than the municipal buildings? I know it had it, but now you're adding the downtown core to it. So so I think if this policy goes through as is, we should give fair warning to the downtown business that's actually in the midst of putting in a patio through the BIA. So that's caught my eye on the policy. So I just wanted to bring that forward. Thank you.
Do we have somebody on staff that can respond to that?
Yes, through you, Deputy Mayor Proust, to Councillor Meredith. Thank you for the question. All municipal property in the town has always been subject to the municipal alcohol policy. The difference in this policy was that we added the outdoor patio program, which has a separate licensing process for businesses that want to open a patio. And I'll let Mr. Kennedy speak to that if needed. But from the perspective of food, they can simply have snacks available for sale, pretzels, chips, like little bags of chips and chocolate bars. It doesn't have to be served food as in meals. We did adapt the recommendation from the Simcoe Muskoka District and Health Unit that instead of having full meals, that light snacks were available. So that is a recommendation that just helps control the consumption of alcohol and the rate of intoxication. So an easy fix for them.
Okay, great. Thank you. That's yeah, that's an easy fix. Yeah, just thanks for the clarification, and I'm happy to hear that. Thank you.
Any more questions or comments? Okay, council, you've heard the motion. All in favor? Opposed? That's carried. Okay, so now we're down to number 18, notices of motion. Does any member of council have a notice of motion? Councillor McDonald.
Thank you very much, Deputy Mayor. I have two notices of motion that I've provided in writing to the clerk, or do we still refer you as a clerk because you have a new title? And the first one is whereas the Ontario government has proposed expanding the strong mayor's powers to 169 additional municipalities, which would grant mayors more authority, particularly concerning the control of municipal budgets and planning decisions. And whereas this proposal raises significant concerns regarding the centralization of power, erosion of local democracy, and diminishes the role of elected municipal councillors in representing the diverse interests of the community. Therefore, be it resolved that Midland Town Council be granted the opportunity to discuss the expansion of strong mayor powers at the May 21st, 2025 Municipal Council meeting.
Thank you, Councillor McDonald. And you have a second notice of motion?
Thank you. My second notice of motion is whereas the Midland Public Library in the town of Midland hosted a second open housing and health symposium in 2025. And whereas the symposium created awareness of services being provided by local agencies and inspired hope. And whereas the Simcoe County Health Unit may be prepared to work with the town and the library on a poverty reduction strategy and drug awareness strategy, may it be resolved that the staff be directed to establish a committee in conjunction with the Midland Public Library to prepare a third symposium community information symposium in November of 2025 and provide funding for the expense in ratio to previous year's costs.
Thank you, Councillor McDonald. Anybody else? Seeing none, I actually have one. I don't have it crafted, but I would like to put in a notice of motion that Midland Town Council consider having a public meeting at the beginning of every council meeting, much like the town of Penetanguishene or the town of Wasaga Beach. There are other councils that do this, and I think that it could be very beneficial for Midland. I will craft something and send it along to the clerk for the next meeting. If I don't see any further hands, we are now down to 19, general announcements. Councillor Major. Did it?
So I'll do this kind of lighthearted. But if you go down to the town office to see the service staff, keep in mind that the ladies in there didn't drive the snow plows last winter, didn't actually operate the loaders or the sander, and they don't cut grass in the summer. So if you go in, you've got a complaint or you want to talk about something, don't take it out on them, because I listened to Monday, I think, a guy down there, and just go talk to the service, find out who on staff you should be dealing with, and don't give them a pressure packed day over nothing, because you got to remember, they're not driving the plows, and they don't send the plows out. They don't send the sanders out. So at least find out who on staff you should be dealing with and not them. And everyone have a good weekend.
Do we have any more announcements? Mayor Gordon, sorry.
Thanks. Always good for a couple. So it was a pleasure today to attend another business opening in town. It's just a steady stream of entrepreneurship in our community. It's great to see. This is a new restaurant offering at 740 Yonge Street, which is the former Blue Garden. It's called Off Menu, and it features an ever-changing menu of, there's quick stuff you can pop in for lunch. It's all prefab. Take it with you, heat it up at home or eat it at work. Sandwiches and the whole variety. And they'll have specialty offerings that are all meant to be taken home, and you can pretend that you made them, you know, just plate them and eat them, and yeah, and like really good stuff. Oh, you're feeding back, buddy. There you go. Anyway, so it was great to be there with Sarah Sprung and her team and the chef, and get a quick tour of the place today. I grabbed a quick sandwich before I headed off to my next stop of the day, which is the subject of my second announcement, and that it's Smile Cookie campaign time. So I had the privilege of attending the Highway 12 Tim Hortons, decorated a whole bunch of Smile Cookies. I think they were a lot better looking than last year. I took a picture and put it online. You can see, compare last year's where they looked like they got hit by a bus. But these ones actually were symmetrical and they looked good. I think the bag was the icing was warmer. Like last year, I really had to muscle through it, but Margaret was with me doing it last year. Anyway, it was a good time. It's for a great cause. $2 a cookie, or 2 for $5, like I like to say in the drive-through area where I was hitting people up because you can't get change out of the bucket. It's a good cause. You're raising money for Waypoint's mental health services for youth. They have a special division that they've started up in a program, and the source of the funding, or the proceeds for the Smile Cookies right now that run for the next few days, go to Waypoint's youth mental health services. So drop by any of the local participating Tim Hortons and grab yourself a Smile Cookie. And if you're lucky, it might have been one of the ones I made, or unlucky, I don't know. I did wash my hands, and they do make you wear gloves. But it was a good time, and thanks for all the good sports who I accosted in the drive-through and was hitting them up for cash for Smile Cookies. So there's my 2 announcements for the day.
I don't see any more hands up. I will go to number 20. I have a motion here. It's moved by Councillor Bald, seconded by Councillor Patel, that the Committee of the Whole rise and report. All in favor? That's carried. Back to you, Mayor Gordon.
Thank you very much. Motion moved by Councillor Major, also seconded by Councillor Patel, that the recommendation of Committee of the Whole for the meeting of April 30th, 2025 be adopted as resolutions of council. All those in favor? Any opposed? That's carried. Next, moved by Deputy Mayor Prost, seconded by Councillor East, that the following 2 bylaws, Bylaw 2024-27, establish municipal alcohol policy for municipal property within the town of Midland, and to repeal previous Bylaw 2008-26 and Bylaw 2010-108, and Bylaw 2024-28, appoint municipal law enforcement officers and property standards officers for the purpose of enforcing bylaws within the town of Midland, and repeal Bylaws 2023-50, 2024-29, and 2024-40 be passed and enacted. Council, any questions before I call it? Discussion? No. Councilor McDonald, did you have something? No. Okay, very good. All those in favor? Any opposed? That is carried. Next, moved by Councillor Major, seconded by Councillor McDonald, that the bylaw 2025-29 being a bylaw to adopt the proceedings of regular council meeting with closed session held April 30th, 2025 be passed and enacted. All those in favor? Any opposed? It's carried. And last but not least, oh, where's my last but not least one? I think I'm short one motion. The motion, the one that ends it all. Unless I mix them up here, stand by one. Nope. I'm missing it. It's with the deputy's package. Nope. Nope. Okay, no big deal. Just play the Jeopardy music for a second here. Alrighty then, moved by Deputy Mayor Pro, seconded by Councillor Patel, that this regular meeting of council will close session adjourn at 9:23 PM. All those in favor? Any opposed? Councillor Merritt is still with us. 10-4. All right, we are adjourned. Good night, everybody, and then please enjoy the conference, learn lots, and come back and regale us with all the jewels of wisdom you're going to pick up.